Okay. So how long do primitive variables exist in memory? Okay. It depends on what kind of variables it is. If it is a class variable, it will be created whenever the class is loaded into JVM. Then itself the memory will be allocated. And
Like the primitive variables means all the four kinds of variables are called primitive variables, or
primitive variables means something like, it is it depends on the data types. We will go into the data types next. Okay.
okay.
The primitive data types, whatever the primitive data types that we use, like int, float, so those are all
Mhm.
primitive variables. Okay, we'll see them in the next chapter. Okay, so
Okay.
class variables, instance variables. Okay, just go through. We have already discussed, like, all these things. Okay. Okay, so now coming to this one. Okay, so we have seen what are the different things that we have seen. We have seen objects, and we have seen different kinds of variables. Okay, now let us see, like, where if you see this method area. Okay, we have discussed about this JVM, right? What does JVM contain? It contains mainly method area, heap memory, stack memory, PC registers, and native method stack. Okay, and it also contains a class loader subsystem which loads the class files into JVM, and it also contains an execution engine, okay, which will execute the program. Okay, this method area, it stores all the class code, method code, and class variables declared. Okay, the class variables means static variables. Okay, those are all be stored in this one. Okay, heap memory. Okay, heap memory means what does it store? We create like objects, right? Okay, all those objects, they are stored in this heap memory. Okay, and also instance variables. Instance variables means they belong to the object, right? Those variables, so those are also stored in this heap memory. Now coming to the stack memory, we create local variables, right? Those local variables are block variables, they are stored in this stack memory. Okay, not only this one, but also the references to the objects that are stored in this heap memory, they are stored in the stack memory. Do you understand this one now? Earlier, like, I just explained you this one, but at that time you guys didn't know, like, about these objects, local variables, instance variables, and class variables, all those things. But now you have got an idea about, like, what are objects, instance variables, local variables, class variables, and all those things. So now you understand, right, this one, where these variables or objects are stored.
Yes, stack. Basically, stack is the part where the addresses of the variables are stored. Do you
Yeah,
want to say this?
not only the addresses of the variables, but it also stores the local variables also. Stack.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, let me show you this one. Just this example. Okay, so okay, let's say this is heap memory and this is stack memory. Okay, so this is heap memory. Okay, and this is stack memory. Okay, so what is this heap memory stores? It stores objects, right? Let's say I have created some object which is object 1. Object 1. Okay, the contents of this object will be stored in this heap memory, but every object, it will have, like, some memory reference. Okay, so that memory reference, let's say that memory reference is something like, okay, AKX9876, something, this memory reference. Okay, this is the memory reference actual. Okay, this is the object, actual contents of this object, but okay, the memory reference for this one, okay, this object contents are stored at this memory. Okay, let's say this is AKX9877. Okay, AKX9877. Okay, this object is stored at this location in the heap memory. Okay, and this location is stored in the stack memory. That's what, when I say, okay, the object references are stored in the stack memory. What does it mean by references? That means the actual address of the memory location in the heap memory. Okay, so it stores the actual objects, and in the stack memory it stores the references of these objects. Okay, and in addition to this, what does it store? It stores instance variables also. Okay, because instance variables belong to the object, so their values are stored in the heap memory. And what does stack memory stores? It stores local variables, local or block variables, anything. Just remember this, like, some people also say block variables also as a local variables only. Okay, so do you understand this one?
So where is the block variable stores?
In this one, stack memory only, everything.
Okay.
Okay, block
Oh.
variable. Okay,
And
so this
class
is
variable is stored into that
no,
class
no, no.
method.
Class,
Like,
yeah, in the method area, that's a different one. Okay,
oh,
whenever the method is loaded, then itself memory will be allocated. But the main kinds of memory that we have in Java are heap memory and stack memory. Okay, what is heap memory stores? It stores objects and instance variables. What is stack memory stores? It stores local variables, block variables, everything local. Okay, and also it stores the references of the objects stored in the heap memory. Okay.
I like not getting the word what you want to refer with the word references.
Yeah, references means locations. Okay,
Okay.
let's say I have created an object. Okay, that object is stored in the heap memory, but the location is this one. Okay,
Okay.
AKX 9877. That's what the location is. Okay,
Okay.
this
Okay. I got that.
location is stored in the
Mm.
stack memory. Reference means it's the
Okay. Got it.
location of the object. Basically,
Okay. Got it.
address, you can say address of the object.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, okay. Now
Okay. Got it.
let's Yeah. Okay. So go through all these interview questions. The types of variable types. It is a lot of people ask this one. Okay. Now let me get into the next chapter, which is data types. Okay. So what are data types? Data types means data types are okay. So we have created some variables earlier, right? What are those variables? We have created a variable like int a is equal to 50, something like that, right? This is what we have created in the previous
Yes.
chapter. Int a is equal to 10, int b is equal to 30, like this. Okay, what is this one? Int means this is a data type. Okay, it tells the variable what kind of value that it can store. Okay, when I say int a is equal to 10, that means a can store only integer values. A can store only integer values. Integer values means numeric values. Okay, like that. What are the different kinds of data types that we have? We have byte, short, int, and long. Okay, these are whole numbers, that means without decimal points. These are whole numbers. Okay, and we have, for decimal numbers, we have float and double. That means when we specify some variable as float, that means it can store only a decimal number in that one. Similarly for double also. Okay, also we have char, that means character. When we say something, some variable is char, data type is char, that means it can store only characters. Characters means single letters with single quotes. Okay, I will show you that. And the next one is boolean. Boolean means either true or false. Okay, so these are the 8 primitive data types. These are called primitive data types. Okay, primitive data types means these are not objects. Okay, that's why, since we have these primitive data types, okay, I said earlier that Java is not an 100% pure object oriented programming language. Okay, because we have some primitive data types also in Java. In Python, if you see, even all these things, they are objects only in Python. That's why Python is an 100% object oriented programming language. Okay, so remember these data types. Okay, what are the different data types we have? For whole numbers, we have byte, short, int, and long. And for decimal numbers, we have float and double. For characters, we have char. And for true or false, okay, we have boolean. Okay, so what is the difference here? When I say byte, long, short, int, and long, all these are whole, for whole numbers only, but they differ from the range that they can store. For example, if you declare something as a byte, okay, it can store the values from minus 128 to plus 127. Okay, if you declare something as short, it can store the values from minus 32,768 to plus 32,767. If you declare something as an int, okay, it can store the values from some minus 214 crores to plus 214 crores. If you declare something as long, it is a very big number that it can store. Okay. Now coming to float. Float, when you declare something as float, it is a decimal number it can store. Okay. It can store a decimal number up to 6 digits. It's not like even it won't like store like 7 digits also. It store up to 6 decimal points. Okay, what is a decimal point? Something like some 67.123 something. Everything after dot is a decimal. Okay, so float can store up to 6 decimal points, decimal digits. Double can store up to 15 decimal digits. Okay, that means after dot you can have up to 15. Boolean holds either true or false only. Okay, so do you understand these data types? I'll show you an example, but do you understand what these data types are? Are any questions on this one?
No, it is clear.
Okay, fine. Okay, now, okay, so understand like this one and remember this order. Okay, no one will ask you about like what is the value that a byte will store, how much values like a short will store. No one will ask you. Okay, in any interview, but just for you to understand, I told you like all these things. Okay, now coming here, just to remember this order. Okay, because this order is needed for you. Okay, in a concept called casting in Java. Okay, so first one is byte. Okay, since byte can store like very less values, minus 128 to 127, and the number of the size of this particular data type is 1 byte. Okay, short can store like plus 32,967 something to something, right? Okay, the size is 2 bytes. Okay, for int, this is small I, this is not capital I actually. Everything is a small letter here. Okay. Okay, so short is 2 bytes, int is 4 bytes, long is 8 bytes. Okay, now float is again 4 bytes, double is 8 bytes. Okay, carry is 2 bytes. Just remember this order until this double. Okay, what is this one? Byte, short, int, long for whole numbers, float, and double for decimal points. Okay, and the size is 1, 2, 4, 8, and for float and double it is 4 and 8. Remember this order because we'll be using it in something called a concept called casting. Okay, okay. Now let me go into this one. Okay, let me show you this example. Okay, so let me create a new class. Right click, new class. Okay, and it is data types example. Okay, I'm using public static my void main. Okay, now let us say I'm creating in the order we will create. So what is the first data type that we have seen in this one? The first data type is byte. Okay, so byte b is equal to, let's say something like a 20 I am creating. Okay, and what is the next one that we have which is short, right? Short s is equal to, let's say some 500. Okay, what is the next one that we have? Int, right? Int I equals to, okay, let's say something like a 4,000 something. Okay, what is the next one that we have? Long. Okay, long L is equal to something like 50,000 something. Okay, so these are the whole numbers. Okay, we don't have decimal points here. Okay, so if I want to print this one, system.out.println, okay, I can say B. That means I'm printing the value of byte. So if I run this one, run as Java application, it is 20. If I want to print the value of short, I can say S. Okay, run as Java application 500. Okay, similarly integer I. Okay, run as Java application 4000. Okay, similarly long L. Okay, if I run this one, run as Java application, it prints me this one. Okay, so these are the different data types for whole numbers. Now let me get into this. float value. Okay, float some f equals to, okay, let us say 30.56765. Okay, okay, something 57534. Okay, and when I put a comma, it is showing an error here. Why it is showing an error here? Because whenever you declare something like this with a decimal point, it automatically considers this as a double, not a float, but we are declaring it as a float here. That is why it is throwing an error here. Okay, because it consider this one as a double value only. For example, if I say double, okay, d equals to something like 60 778 dot, sorry, okay, some value. Okay, it won't give you any error because by default it considers this value as a double. Similarly, any decimal value, it considers this as a double. So whenever you are creating a value, a float value, you have to mention it as f at the end. That means it says that, okay, it's not a double value, it's a float value. Okay, if you don't declare anything here, then that means it's a double value. Okay, so either you can declare it like this, or you can also declare it as d at the end to show that, okay, it's a double. Okay, by default it's a double value, so you don't need to declare anything, but for float you have to declare it as f at the end. Okay, now system.out.println f, I can print the float value, run as Java. Okay, it's showing the float value is 30.57534. Okay, and similarly, if I want to print the double value, double, run as Java application. Okay, 778.2. Okay, so do you understand this one, all these data types?
Yes.
Okay, now what is the next data type? Char. Okay, that means let's say char c equals to, what is a character? Basically single letter within a single quote. So let us say I'm putting it like char c equals to a. Okay, that means the value of this character c is system.out.println c. Okay, it prints the value of a, anything that is within single quotes. Okay, within single quotes, and a single character is nothing but a character. Okay, now let me, and what is the next one? We have boolean. Okay, boolean is something that stores, okay, boolean is something that stores uh, either true or false. Okay, so boolean, bool is equal to, let's say I'm storing true in this one. Okay, so if I print it like system.out.println, okay, bool, bool, run as Java application, and it is true. Okay, or I can store false also in this one, and if I run this one, run as Java application, and it is false. Okay, do you understand all these data types?
Yes.
Okay, so just remember, and for these ones until this point, just remember this order. Okay, byte, short, int, long, float, and double. So what is the size of a byte variable?
Minus 128 to
No,
128,
no,
like 1 byte.
that is
1
the
byte.
range. That is the range that it can store. The memory size.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the memory size of a
1 byte.
1 byte? What is the memory size for short?
2 byte.
What is the memory size for int?
4.
4
Oh,
bytes. What
8.
is the
8.
no, memory size for
Yeah.
int is 4 bytes only. What is the memory
Yeah.
size for long?
8.
8 bytes. Okay, 1, 2, 4, 8. That's what you have to remember. What is the memory size for float variable?
It's 4 bytes.
4. What is the memory size for a double variable?
8 bytes.
8 bytes. Okay, so just remember this order. Okay, now we'll go into the next topic. Okay, okay, so the next topic is called primitive casting. Okay, what does it mean by primitive casting or casting in Java? Okay, so whenever, okay, we have created like these different variables here. Okay, I'm creating a new class again here. The new class is data types example 1. Okay, and public static void main. Okay, let us say I'm creating something, some variable int I equals to, okay, let us say 30. Okay, and then what I would like to do is I'm creating a byte variable, okay, byte b, okay, and I would like to assign the value of I to this byte variable. Okay, if it is like, if it is int variable, like some int number, okay, let's say this is number one, okay, number uh, one, okay, and this is number two, okay. If I want to assign this number to the number one value to number two, okay, I can directly do it, right? Because this is an integer and this is an integer, and I can assign this one directly, and I can print this value of number two. Okay, so now what will be the value of number two? It is number one only. Okay, it is 30 only. Okay, it is 30. But let us say I'm creating something like a short value. Okay, so can I assign in integer value to short value? I cannot do it directly because okay, the data types are different. This is an integer data type and this is a short data type. Even though both are for whole numbers only, I cannot do it directly. Okay, this is a type mismatch, cannot convert from int to short. That's what the error it shows. Okay, it cannot convert from type to short, but this is whole number only. So how do we do it? Okay, for assigning one data type variable to another data type variable, we have to use casting. Okay, so what is casting? Casting means first we have to convert this data type to this data type, then we can assign this value to this value. So how do we convert? Okay, basically for converting we have to use brackets and then use short. So this is nothing but casting. Okay, so here we are assigning an integer data type value, variable value, to a short data type variable value. Can we do it directly? No, we cannot do it directly. Why we can't do it directly? Because they are different data types. Okay, so we have to use casting. How do we do the casting? First we have to convert this number one to a short data type. How do we convert this one? We have to use brackets and then the data type here in this one. So now when we use this one, this number one will be converted to short data type. Okay, and then we are assigning to this short data type variable. Okay, this is called casting in Java. Okay, but again there are two kinds of casting in Java. One is implicit casting and another one is explicit casting. So what is implicit casting? Okay, for this one you have to remember this order. Okay, this way I said, like, just remember this order. Okay, we have all these things: byte, short, int, long, and float. Just give me 1 second, guys. Okay, just give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Okay, sorry. Okay, so just remember this order. Okay, so we have this byte, we have this byte, short, int, and long, float, and double. Okay, okay, now this byte size is 1 byte, short. Let's take these two values. Okay, byte and short. Okay, byte size is 1 byte and short size is 2 bytes. Okay, now what is implicit casting? Am I audible to everyone?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, now the byte size is 1 byte and short size is like 2 bytes. Okay, now if I create a variable with byte, okay, I can directly assign it to a variable short. I don't need to use casting here because this is of smaller size. Okay, this is of smaller size data type, and this is of bigger size data type because it is 1 byte and it is 2 byte. Okay, I can assign the smaller size data types to a bigger size data types directly. Okay, let me show you this example. Okay, in this one, let us say I'm creating something with byte. Okay, byte number is equal to 30 and short. Okay, and if I want to assign this value number 1 to number 2, I can assign it directly. I don't need to use casting here. Okay, because what is the size of this byte variable? Size is 1 byte. Right. Similarly, what is the size of this one? Size is 2 bytes. Right. So I'm assigning a smaller data type variable value to a bigger data type variable. Okay. That is why it is, I can assign it directly. I don't need to use casting. You can still use casting. That's not a problem. But Java will automatically take care of this one. Okay. You can still convert this number 1 to a short and assign this one. You can do that. But in case of these things where you are assigning a shorter data type value to a bigger data type variable, you don't need to do this one, and this is called implicit casting. Okay, because Java will implicitly do the casting for you. Okay, now let us see this one. But I want to do this one where I have created a short variable, short data type variable, short number 3. Guys, like, if you are not speaking anything, like, just go on mute. Okay, fine. Short number 3 equals to, okay, I'm taking something like a 50. Okay, and then I'm creating a byte one. Okay, byte number 4 equals to, okay, I'm not doing anything. Okay, here I would like to assign this value, number 3 value, to number 4. Okay, so how can I do it? Number 4 equals to number 3, but this will give an error because the size of short is, how much is this one? Size is 2 bytes, right? And this one size is 1 byte. Okay, I am trying to assign a bigger data type value to to a smaller data type variable. That is why it won't agree. Okay, you cannot assign something which is bigger to something which is smaller. So you have to convert this bigger one to this smaller one. So we have to use casting here definitely. Okay, this is byte. Okay, so first we are converting this bigger data type variable to a smaller data type variable, and then we are assigning this one. How do we convert that one? This by using casting, and this is called explicit casting. Do you understand this one? Or any questions?
Yeah, it is clear.
Okay, so there are two types of casting. One is implicit casting and another one is explicit casting. Okay, what is implicit casting? When we are trying to assign a smaller data type variable to a bigger data type variable, we don't need to use any casting here. Java will automatically take care of that, and it is called implicit casting because you can directly put this one byte data type variable to a 2 byte data type variable. Okay, but when we are trying to assign a bigger data type variable to a small data type variable, okay, then we have to use casting, and this is called explicit casting. Explicitly you have to do it. Okay, now if you remember this order here, okay, everything, like, if you want to assign a byte value to a short value, you can directly do it. Okay, this is implicit casting. A byte value to an integer value, into value, into data type, you can directly do it. Byte to long, directly. Byte to 4, directly do it. This is all implicit. Similarly, short to int, you can directly do it because you are trying to assign a 2 byte size variable to a 4 byte size variable. You can directly short to int, short to long, short to float also you can do it. Okay, similarly, short to double. But if you want to go it in this direction, reverse direction, from short to byte, you have to use explicit casting. Int to byte or int to short, explicit casting. Long to byte, long to short, long to int, explicit casting. Float to byte, float to short, float to int, explicit casting. Double to byte, double to short, double to int, explicit casting. Do you understand this one? That's why I asked you to remember this order. If you remember this order, you can easily do the casting. Okay, from byte to short, no casting is needed, implicit casting. But short to byte, explicitly we have to cast it. Okay, just don't get confused here between long float and long and double. Okay, even though the size is like 8 bytes and 4 bytes, if you remember this order, you can easily convert a long value to a float value without any casting. But if you want to convert from float to long, again you have to use casting. So just remember this order, and I only showed you like byte and short. Practice it for others. Okay, try to convert, try to assign a byte value to an integer value, byte value to a long value, byte value to an a float value. You can directly assign them. Try to assign a float value to a long value. You have to use casting. Float value to
Okay, sure.
integer. Okay, you have to use casting. Okay, so just practice all these things. Okay, now
This
that
is
is
also called downcasting, this kind of thing.
yeah, you can say that like in downcasting or upcasting. We have that one. We have a that one, but generally those terms upcasting and downcasting we use in terms of objects. Okay.
Okay, got it. Okay,
Yeah, this is basically called like primitive casting. Okay, primitive data types casting.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so this example like we have already seen this one. Okay, how to do this one from float f. Yeah, all these things we have seen. Okay, primitive casting also we have seen this one. The primitive casting is used to convert primitive values from one data type to another data type. For example, an integer value can be assigned to a float value, a double value can be assigned to a so primitive casting is nothing but converting one data type variable value to another data type variable value. Okay, if we are assigning a small data type to a large data type, no casting is needed. Okay, but if we are assigning a large data type value to a small data type, casting is needed. And the first thing is called implicit casting, and the second one is called explicit casting. Okay, so this is the example I gave here, but practice it like for other variables. Just I gave like some exercises here, but just practice it like for all the different types of data types. Okay, then you will understand the casting. Okay, and just to remember that order. Okay, remember that order. Okay, if you remember that order, you can easily do the casting. Okay, so what is that order? Can anyone tell me the order of that data types?
Byte, short, int, long, float, double.
Yeah, for casting that's enough. Okay, remember, just remember this order. Okay, okay, fine. Now primitive data types default values. What are the default values for primitive data types? Okay, so let me go here and let me create like another let me anyhow, like you'll get the notes, right? So don't worry about this one. I'm just updating it here itself. Okay. Let us say like I have created a class. Okay, and I'm creating like some variables. Okay, byte b. Okay, and what is the next one? Short s, int I. Okay, long l, and what is the next one that we have? Uh, float.
Float.
Float f, double
Double,
e. Okay,
boolean,
and char c. Okay, boolean.
Yeah.
Okay, let's BOOL, because B we have already used it here byte per byte, so I'm just taking this one. Okay, so if you see, we have declared these variables, but we haven't initialized them. Okay, there's something like I haven't initialized it like 39. Okay, I'm not doing that one. I've just initialized these values. Okay, so now when we do, what are these kind of variables? What are these variables? What type of variables
primitive,
are these?
primitive
Instance.
variable.
No. Data type is primitive. Data type
Okay,
is
variables are
primitive data.
instance, yeah.
Variables are instance variables. Okay,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we have declared them outside of this method within the class. Okay, so if I want to access this one in a static method, how do I access them?
We have to create an object.
Yeah, we have to create an object. Okay, so let's say I'm creating an object here. Okay, and object 1 equals to new this one. Okay, I have created an object. So now let me access this one, system.out.println. Okay, object 1 dot b. Okay, and similarly let me okay, so what is the next one? Short, right? S. And what is the next one? Int I, object 1 dot I. What is the next one? Long, object 1 dot L. What is the next one? Float, object 1 dot F. What is the next one? Double, object 1 dot D. What is the next one? Object 1 dot character C. And next one is boolean. Okay, I haven't assigned any values. Okay, when you create instance variables or static variables, okay, so there will be some default values assigned to this one. Okay, let us see what those default values are. Okay, let me run this one, run as Java application. Okay, so see, these are all the default values that we got. Okay, for byte, short, int, and long, what is the default value? The default value is this one, 0. Okay, because see, we haven't initialized them, but it is printing the values of 0. That means the default values for byte, short, int, and long, they are 0. Okay, for float and double, if you see, this is the value for float and double, it is 0.0. Okay, what about this character one? For character data type, the default value is space. Actually, if you see, there is a space here, it is printing space. Okay, and what is the default value of a boolean data type? It is false. Okay, so these are the default values for the primitive data type variables. Okay, now this is for instance variables. I have shown you. Just do it for static variables. So how do you do it for static variables? Practice it for static variables. So how do you create the static variables here? Just put the word
By
static.
giving a name static before that.
Yeah, just use static. And since we are using static, we don't need to use the class name here. I mean object. We don't need to create an object here. You can access within the same class. You can access directly. Okay. So like this, see like what are the default values. Again, the default values will be same, but practice it with the static ones. Okay. Okay. So let me ask you what are the default values for int? Default value for int data type variable?
0.
0. What is the default value for a char type?
Space.
Space.
Yeah, space. Okay, it is actually like it is representing a space, but the actual default value is something like a \u0000. Okay, 4 zeros. This represents a space. This is a what do we say this code? Okay, there is something like okay, so this is nothing but space actually. Okay, what is the default value for a boolean variable?
False.
False. Okay, so even for static variables also the same thing you will get. Okay, so this is for instance variables and static variables. Okay, let me create like another one. Control C, Control V. Okay, data types example 2. Okay, let me open this one, this data types example 2. Okay, and in this one, okay, instead of creating a local okay, instead of creating a variables like guys, like if you are not speaking, please go on mute. Hello, guys, if you are not speaking, please go on mute. Okay, otherwise let me. Okay, fine. Okay. Okay, so now let me say I haven't created anything this one. I have created some local variables here. Okay, local variables. Okay, and let me show you this one. Let me take out this one. Local variables. I can access them directly, right? Because these are local to this method. I don't need to create an object for this one. Okay, so this is a local variable. Okay, so if I want to print this one, system.out.println B, what happens? it shows an error here. And what is that error? The local variable may not have been initialized. Okay, that means whatever it is, the local variable, okay, if you created this one before you use this, the local variables should be initialized. If you don't initialize this one, it will give you an error. Okay, so if I say some b is equal to 20, then it will go away. Okay, because I have initialized this one before I'm using this. Okay, so the default values are only for instance variables and static variables and not for local variables. Local variables should be initialized before you use. Got it? You guys got it, or any questions here?
No, it is very clear.
Okay, so only the default values are for instance variables and static variables and not for local variables. Local variables should be initialized before you use them. Okay, okay, fine. Now, yeah, that is about data types basically. Okay, yeah, that is about data types. Okay, now let's get into the data types interview questions. Okay, so name the primitive data types or Java types. Okay, they are like byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean, and char or boolean. Okay, so what is casting in Java? Okay, casting, don't worry about this one, object references, casting between object references. Okay, don't worry about this one. What is casting? Casting is converting one type of one data type variable to a different data type variable. Okay, that is nothing but casting. Okay, to what value a boolean will be automatically initialized? What value? That means the default value of a boolean data type is false.
False.
Okay, so the boolean data type will be automatically initialized to false value. Okay, what is type conversion? Okay, type conversion is nothing but casting. Okay, assigning a value of one data type variable to another data type variable is called type casting. And again, there are two types of conversions: widening conversion, narrowing conversion. Widening conversion is nothing but implicit casting. Okay, this is nothing but implicit casting. Okay, that means assigning a smaller data type variable to a larger data type variable, which is nothing but explicit casting, is nothing but widening conversion. And narrowing conversion is assigning a bigger data type variable value to a smaller data type variable, is nothing but narrowing conversion. Okay, now automatic type conversion. Okay, what is automatic type conversion? Which is, this is nothing but implicit casting. Okay, when we are assigning a smaller data type variable to a bigger data type variable, it will automatically do the casting. It will automatically convert the smaller data type variable to a bigger data type variable. We don't need to do any explicit casting it. So that is also called automatic type conversion. Okay, so narrowing conversion, again this is explicit casting. Okay, just go through this one. Okay, so what is primitive casting in Java? So primitive casting means converting one data type variable to a different data type variable. There are two types: implicit casting and explicit casting. Okay, we have discussed this one. Just go through this one, and we have already seen this example in casting. Okay, next one is what are the default values of primitive data types? Okay, the default values for byte, short, int, long, it is 0. For float and double, it is 0.0. For boolean, it is false. For character, it is space. Okay, so we have seen, like, all these things. So the important one is in this one is casting only. People will ask you questions about, like, casting. What is casting? Like, how do you do it? What is implicit casting and explicit casting? So those are the kind of questions people will ask you generally in this one. Other than that, in data types, nothing else will be asked. Okay. Okay. So this is about data types. So any questions on data types so far? Okay.
No.
Yeah. Now let me go into the operators. Okay, so what are the, like, the different operators that we have? Okay, we have all these kind of sorry.
There There is one question, Subbu. Like,
Yeah.
I just want to know for a curiosity that whether
Yeah.
is it like in real time people use byte to convert into Boolean?
No, 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 no. Okay. So casting is only for numeric types.
Okay.
Okay. That means the first 6 data types that we have seen, right? Like
Yes.
what is the byte, short, int, long, okay, and float and double.
Okay.
Okay. So only between these things the casting will happen. You cannot convert like a Boolean value, I mean a byte value to a Boolean or something like that.
Okay. Got
Okay.
you.
Yeah. Okay. Now coming to the operators, like what are the different kinds of operators that we have? We have arithmetic operators where we can do calculations like plus, minus, and all those things. Assignment operators. Assignment operators is assigning one value to another value. So we have some operators under this auto increment and auto decrement operators. We have plus plus and minus minus operators and logical operators. Logical operators means double ampersand or double pipe symbol for or condition and negation operation. Okay. And comparison operators, we have greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than conditions that we use. And we have ternary operator also. Okay. These are all the different operators that we have in Java. Okay. So let us see the first one. What are the basic arithmetic operators that we have? Okay. The basic arithmetic operations are, we have, these are the basic arithmetic operations. Okay, so these are the basic arithmetic operations that we have. What are they? They are like plus, minus, multiplication symbol, division symbol, and the last one is a remainder symbol. Okay, so what do we use them for? For doing the arithmetic operations, we use these arithmetic operators. Okay, so let me go here. Okay, and let me create a new class here. New, okay, class. Okay, arithmetic operators. I have created a new class, and I will create a main method public static void main string, okay, args. Okay, let us say I am creating something like int a is equal to some 30, int b is equal to, let us say, some 2, value 2. I would like to add both of these. Something gone wrong. Yeah, I would like to add both of these. So what I will do, system.out.println a plus b. Okay, plus is an arithmetic operator. Okay, which sums up, adds like both these values, and it will print that value. So if I run this one, okay, and say 32 is the value. Okay, similarly, we have minus symbol for subtraction. Okay, if I do this one, it will subtract one value from another value, and it is 30 minus 2, 28. Similarly, multiplication. Okay, a star b. Okay, if I run this one, then run as Java application, it is 60. Okay, 30 into 2, 60. Similarly, if I say division, okay, a divided by b, that means 30 by 2, which is 15. Okay, run as Java application, it is 15. Similarly, reminder. So what is it? What is a reminder? Let us say I have something like 4 here. So 30 by 4, what is the reminder here? 30 by 4, what is the reminder? It will be 2. 2 will be the reminder. Just like maybe like we have learned it like in our elementary schools. Okay, just let me show you this one. Okay, so let me take this one. Oh, okay, this it is changing it. Okay, so we have done this one. So let us say this is okay 30. Okay, actually I have a pen. Okay, let me. Okay, and we are dividing it by 4. Okay, how many times it will go? It will go as 7 times. Okay, so 4 sevens are 28, right? So what is the remainder here? So 30 minus 28, it is 2, right? So this is the remainder here. Okay, so when you do this one, so this percentage symbol is nothing but the remainder symbol. So if you run this one, run as, so it will show you 2. This is the remainder. Okay, so let us say, like, I made this one 4 and then 30. What is the remainder in this one? What is the remainder in this case? That means what I'm doing is I'm doing it something like 4, but I'm
4 is the
dividing
remainder.
it by 30. Yeah, 4 is the remainder because it goes like 0 times. Okay, 0 into 30, it is 0. And what is the remainder? The remainder is 4 here. Okay, so in this case, if you do this one, run as Java application, it will be 4. Okay. Okay. Now you understand like all these arithmetic operators, right? So these are all the different arithmetic operators. Like practice all these arithmetic operators. And then the next one is assignment operators. What are the assignment operators that we have? We have already seen this equals to. Okay, that means when we have like two values, let us say I have int a is equal to 4 and int b is equal to int b. Okay, and I'm saying like b equals to a. Okay, I'm assigning the value of a to b, and if I print b, okay, system.out.println b, what is the value of b now? B value will be again 4. Okay, because I have assigned the value of a to b. Okay, and the next one is plus equals to. What does it mean by plus equals to? For example, I have number 1 and number 2. Okay, instead of looking a and b, let me take this number 1 and number 2, number 1, number 2. Okay, so it will be number 2. Okay, so number 2 equals to number 1. Okay, we have seen this one. So what does it mean by number 2 plus equals to number 1? It means number 2 equals to number 2 plus number 1. Okay, let's say I'm taking like something like number 2 is equal to 2 here. Okay, and I'm saying number 2 plus equals to number 1. It means that number 2 equals to number 2 plus number 1. Okay, so what is the value of number 2 now? It will be number 2 plus number 1. So 2 plus 4. So it will be 6. Okay, it will be 6. Similarly, if I use number 2 minus equals to number 1, so it will be number 2 minus number 1. So if I run this one, 2 minus 4, it should be minus 2. Okay, similarly, if I say number 2 star equals to number 1, so it will be number 2 equals to number 2 star multiplied by number 1. So what will be the value? 4 into 2, 8. Okay, similarly, if I use like division equals to, then it will be number 2 divided by number 1. That means 2 by 4. Okay, let me make this one as 20. Okay, so it will be number 2 equals to number 2 by number 1. So 20 by 4, which will be 5. Okay, so the next one is like number 2 remainder equals to. Okay, so when I say this one, number 2 remainder number 1. Okay, let us say I'm doing 21. So what is the remainder in this case? 21 divided by 4, it will be remainder is 1. So number 2 value will becomes 1. Okay, do you understand these operators? It's not arithmetic operators, it's assignment operators. Okay,
Yes, it
so
is very clear.
yeah, okay, so this is about assignment operators. So the next type of operators are auto increment and auto decrement operators. So what are these auto increment and auto decrement operators? Plus plus and minus minus are the auto increment and auto decrement operators. So when we say num1 plus plus, okay, it is number 1 is equal to number 1 plus 1. When we say number 1 minus minus, this means number 1 is equal to number 1 minus 1. Okay, these are the two auto increment and auto decrement operators that we have, plus plus and minus minus. Okay, now let me show you an example here. Okay, number 1 equals to 10, let us say. Okay, so this one int number 1. Okay, now I am saying number 1 plus plus. Okay, system.out.println. Okay, number 1. Okay, so when I say number 1 plus plus, so it means number 1 equals to number 1, okay, plus 1. Okay, so now what will be the value of number 1? It will be 10 plus 1, which is 11. So if I run this one, run a Java application, it is 11. Similarly, if I say number 1 minus minus, it will be number 1 is equal to number 1 minus 1. Okay, so now what will be the value of number 1? It will be 10 minus 1, 9. Okay, so this is about auto increment and auto decrement operators. Okay, so now let's go into the logical operators. So these logical operators, they are generally used in conditions. Okay, we will see like the conditions in the later chapters. They are like double ampersand and double pipe symbol and negation operation. Okay, so double ampersand is used for condition and. Okay, double pipe symbol is used for condition or. Okay, and this negation operator is used for negation. Okay, we will see that. Okay, now these are mainly used in conditions. Okay, let us see this one. Okay, now let's say I have like an int number is equal to 10. Okay, and I'm creating another number, int number 2 equals to 20 something. Okay, now don't worry if you don't know like what these conditions are, don't worry, like we'll see them. But for now, okay, I'm creating like another variable also, int number 3 equals to 30. Okay, I'm saying if this is a condition, if number 1 is less than, okay, number 2. Okay, this is one condition. What I'm saying is basically conditions are used like if some to validate something, okay, to verify something. Okay, in this case we are saying if this number 1 is less than number 2, okay, then print something. Okay, system.out.println number 1 is less than, okay, number 2. Okay, so in this case, if you see here, we have 10 less than 20, which is correct, right? So in that situation, it goes into this condition and it prints this one. Okay, so if I run this one, run as Java application, it will print number 1 is less than 2. Okay, now coming to this logical operators, okay, by using this double ampersand or double pipe symbol, we can validate multiple conditions. Okay, so in this case, number 1 is less than number 2, and I am saying another condition and. Okay, this is for logical and. Okay, and number 2 and number 1 is less than number 3 also. Okay, that means if number 1 is less than number 2 and number 1 is less than number 3 also, then print number 1 is less than number 2 and number 3. Okay, so we are validating multiple conditions here, and this double ampersand means okay, both these conditions should be true. Okay, so number 1 less than number 2 and number 1 should also be less than number 3, then only go and execute this piece of code. Okay, so this is logical AND. Okay, so when I run this one, in this case 10 is less than 20 and 10 is also less than 30, that's why it prints number 1 is less than number 2 and 3. Okay, so this is logical AND. When we use logical AND, it means that all the conditions should be true. In this condition should be true, this condition should be true, then only it executes this piece of code. Okay, now this is about logical AND. What is the next one we have? Pipe symbol. It is logical OR. Logical OR means, okay, let's say, let me use logical OR. When we use logical OR, either one of these conditions should be true. One of these conditions. Okay, so in this case, if you see number 1 is less than number 2, 10 is less than 20. Let us give me this one as 5. Okay, so in this case 10 is less than 20, but 10 then what is the next condition? Number 1 is less than number 3. 10 is less than 5. This is false. Okay, it's not true. But since we are using this or condition here, we are not using okay, for example, if I use like an ampersand symbol, okay, what does it mean by double ampersand? Both these conditions should be true, then only it goes to into this one. Okay, so if I run this one, what happens now? Nothing will happen, nothing will print, because this condition is failing here. 10 is less than 5, which is wrong. So if I run this one, it prints nothing. It prints nothing because it is wrong. But if I use a pipe symbol here, okay, if I use a pipe symbol here, a pipe symbol means either one of the conditions should be true. Here in this case, if you see 10 is less than 20, this is true. Okay, in this case 10 is less than 5, which is false. But since one of these conditions is true, it still goes into this and executes this one. Okay, if I run this one, run as Java application, okay, it still prints this one because one of these conditions is true. Okay, so that is logical OR. What is negation? Okay, negation is used like mainly okay, let me show you this one. I have something called like a boolean variable. Boolean test is equal to false. Okay, something like okay, let's say boolean test is equal to false. Okay, now I'll say if test, I'm saying system.out.println true. Okay, if we use like any boolean variable like this, okay, if test, it checks whether it is true or not. Okay, whether it is true or not. Let's say I'm putting this one as true. Okay, and then it prints this value. If it is true, it prints this value. Run as Java application. Okay, true. Okay, let me make it as false. Okay, this value is false here, but now checks for if test means whether it is true or not. Okay, now if I run this one, it is not true, right? It is false because we have assigned a value of false. So if I run this one, it won't print like anything. See, it is not printing like true or false because it is false here. It won't go. So if we want to check if it is false, okay, then we can use negation. Okay, negation, and let me change this. Okay, that means it checks whether it is false or not. If it is false, then it goes into this one. Okay, run as okay, false. Mainly this negation symbol is used for checking if some value is false or not. Okay, we'll use this one. It may be a little bit confusing at this point to you guys. Okay, but we will use this one later. Then I will show you like how to use this negation symbol. It is very useful. Okay, any questions on this one so far, on these operators, logical operators, or are you guys okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, fine. Now let's get into the next one, which is comparison operators. Comparison operators, again, they are used in if conditions only. Okay, to check whether something is equal, something is not equal, something is greater than, something is less than, something like this. Okay, so we have already seen this one. Okay, less than symbol, this is a comparison operator that we have used. Okay, so let's see like some more examples here. Let me just I have given like all these examples in these documents. Okay, so you can refer them. I'm just updating the same class. Okay, just to save some time. Okay, I'm not creating like new classes or anything in this one. Okay, now let us say if number 1, I have like two things here. Okay, number 1 and number 2. Okay, I would like to verify. I would like to verify if both of these numbers are equal. So then what I can do is I can use double equals to symbol. Okay, if number 1 equals to number, okay, then I would like to print equal. Okay, equal. Okay, let's say I make this one as 10 and 10. So in this case, number one value is 10 and number two value is 10. So I can verify using W equals to symbol. Okay. So now let me go on to run this one, run as Java application. Okay. So equal. But let us say if it is something like a different value. So in this case, they are not equal. So it won't go into this step. That's why it won't print anything. If I run this one, run as Java application. Okay. It is not printing anything because they are not equal. If we want to verify two values are not equal, okay, then we can use not equals to, negation symbol and then equals to. That means here we are checking that two values are not equal. Okay, so number one value is 10, number two value is 20. So they are not equal. Then it goes into this condition and it executes that statement. So we say not equal. Okay, I can also use greater than, less than, greater than, or equal to, less than or equal to. Okay, you can try, you guys can try these symbols, these conditions, comparison operators. Okay, any questions on this one? Are you guys clear of this one? Okay, I have given like all the examples here.
Yeah, we are clear.
Okay, fine. Because like these are small things, like now I'm not going into like each and every detailed step of this one. Okay, you can just check this. Okay, now coming to the ternary operator. Ternary operator, we use it rarely, but you need to know this one, like what these ternary operators means. Okay, so what is a ternary operator? Ternary operator, it evaluates a Boolean expression and assign a value based on the result. So this is a Boolean expression. That means you can say that this is a condition. Okay. If this condition, then we'll have some question mark. Okay. If this condition is true, this is a Boolean expression, right? If this condition is true, then the value after this question mark will be assigned to this variable number one. Okay. Variable num one. Okay. If this expression return false, then we will have a colon and another value. Okay. And this, if the expression return false, then this value will be assigned to this variable. Okay. So let me show you an example here. I have two things, like number one and number two. Okay. I'm saying that int num3 equals to, okay, first thing I have to give an expression condition. Okay, so num1 equals to num2. Okay, that means if number 1 is equals to number 2, okay, then I can say question mark, assign a value of like 500 to this num3 variable. Else means like colon, assign a value of 1000. Okay, so what does it mean? If num1 and num2 values are equal, then assign a value of 500 to this num3. If they are not equal, assign a value of 1000 to num3. Okay, so if I print this one, system.out.println num3. So what will be the value of num3? Can anyone tell in this case? Anyone?
1000.
Yeah,
1000.
1000, because these values are not equal. So it will go and assign the value of 1000 here. So if I run this one, run as Java application, it is 1000. Okay. For example, if I go and get it like 10. Okay. Now what will be the value of num3? It will be 500, because if the value is true, if the value is true, then it will be assigned this value after question mark. Otherwise, it will assign the value after colon. Okay. If I run this one, run as Java application. Okay, 500. Okay, this is about ternary operator. Okay, so these are all the different operators that we have. One is basic arithmetic operators, assignment operators, auto increment, auto decrement operators, logical operators, comparison operators, and ternary operators. Okay, people won't ask you like any questions on these ones. Okay, on these ones and on these ones, but they may ask you questions about auto increment and auto decrement operators and ternary operator. Okay, we'll see like what kind of questions we'll get in this auto increment and auto decrement operators. Okay, let me get into this, go into the interview questions. Okay, so what is a percentage operator in Java?
It is an it
It's
is
a mod,
basically for getting a reminder.
yeah, it's a reminder operator. So it gives you the reminder. Okay, we have seen this one already. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now comes this to this important question. Okay. People may ask you, like, so this is a medium kind of question. What is the difference between prefix and postfix forms of auto increment and auto decrement operator? Plus plus is nothing but auto increment operator, right? Okay. Let me
Yes.
show you this one. Okay. Now I have okay, num1 plus plus. Okay, what does it mean by plus plus? That means it is addition of one. That means if I say something like, okay, let's say num1 plus plus. Okay, what does it mean? This means that num1 equals to num1 plus 1, right? Plus plus means we are adding 1. Okay, so we can do it like in two ways. Either this plus plus can be after this one or before this one. In these two ways, like we can do this. Okay, system.out.println num2. Okay, what happens in this case? If I have a postfix form of plus plus, what happens in this case? Okay, the value of number 1 will become 11, right? Because it is, when we say num1 plus plus, this means, it means that it is num1 equals to num1 plus 1, right? You understand this one? Or any questions on this one? We have seen this, like auto
It
increment
is
and
clear.
auto decrement. Okay, so the value of number 1 will become 10 plus 1 11. Okay, so this 11 value should be assigned to this number 2, right? So let me show you this one. Let me print the number 1 value also. System.out.println number 1 and number 2. So can you tell me the result here? What is the value of number 1 and what is the value of number 2?
10 and 11.
What is it?
10
No,
and 11.
no. Number 1, we have already incremented it here. Number 1 plus plus.
Okay, it will be 11 and number 2 will.
Number 2 should be 11 also, because we are assigning that one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it should be
Yeah.
okay, but
Both will be.
let me show you that result. Okay, show a run as Java application. Okay, it is 11 and 10. Number 1 value is becoming 11, but number 2 is still 10 only. The reason is, when we use a postfix form of auto increment, and when we are assigning it to a different variable, what happens is the value of number 1 will be assigned to this other variable first. So what is the initial value of number 1? It is 10. So 10 is assigned to this number 1. That is why when you say system.out.println number 2, it is still 10 only. And then the value of number 1 will be incremented by 1. Okay, so number 1 is becoming 11. Number 2 is still 10, because the original value of this number 1 will be assigned to number 2 first. Okay, so number 2 is still 10. Understand this one?
Yes, got it.
Number 1 value will be definitely be incremented, but before it is incremented, okay, this number 1 value will be assigned to this number. Okay, let me put it in the prefix form. Okay, if I use this one plus plus number 1, what happens in this case? Definitely the number 1 value will be incremented by 1 only, but when it will be
Both will
assigned
be.
to when it will be assigned to number 2, first the value will be incremented here, because we have the prefix form. So first the number 1 value will becomes 11, and then it will be assigned to number 2. So in this case, both the values will become 11 only. If I run this one, run as Java application 11 and 11. Do you understand the difference between postfix forms and prefix forms?
Yes.
Okay, so in case of a postfix form, first the value will be assigned and then the value will be incremented. In the case of a prefix form, first the value will be incremented and then it will be assigned. Okay, that's one thing you have to remember. The same case with minus minus also. If I use like minus minus, what happens in this case? What is the value of number 1 and number 2? Can anyone tell me, like, what is the value of number 1 and number 2 here?
9 and 10.
Yes, because number 1, first for number 2, the value of number 1 will be assigned here. So number 2 value is 10, but then number 1 value will be decremented by 1. Okay, so it will, number 1 will becomes 9. So the values are 9 and 10. Okay, what if, like, I do it like minus minus, what is the value here for number
Both
1
will
and
be
number
9.
both will be 9, because first the value will be decremented by 1 and then that will be assigned to number 2. So it will be 9 and 9. Okay. Okay. So that is the difference between prefix forms and postfix forms of plus plus. Okay. This is the only important, like, question in these ones. And also ternary operator also people may ask you, like, what is a ternary operator? In a ternary operator we will have a Boolean expression, and based on the value of that Boolean expression, values will be assigned. Okay. So, okay. Now that is about uh, operators. Okay. Now coming to methods. Okay. Let's see, like, what are methods. Okay. So basically, why do we use methods? Methods are mainly used for code reuse. Okay, if we want to reuse the code, in that case we will use methods. Okay, for example, in your programs you are doing addition of, like, some two random numbers a lot of times. Okay, so you don't want to repeat it, like, all the time. Okay, we'll just write a method and we'll use that method wherever we need, like, for addition of the two numbers. Okay, so what is the use of a method? Basically for code reuse. Okay, now how do we define a method? How do we define a method? If somebody asks you, like, how we define a method, just remember one thing. Okay, just remember this public static, okay, void main method. You might have practiced it already yesterday. Okay,
Yes.
if somebody asks you, like, okay, how do you define a method? Just remember this method, public static void method. So what does it contain? It contains public. Public means it is an access modifier. Access modifier. Okay, so to define a method, you need to specify modifier. Defines access type of the method. Okay, we'll see there are 4 different types of access modifiers. We'll see them in future chapters, but for now just remember that this is the access modifier. So we need to specify, we can specify an access modifier. Okay, and then don't worry about this one. This is a non-static, non-access modifier. You don't need to worry about this one. Next one is, what is this void? This is return type. Okay, that means what does the method returns? Okay, so in this case it is not returning anything, that's why we have specified it as void. For example, it is returning an integer, then we use a return type as int data type. If it is returning a float, then we use the data type as float. So this is a return type. So void is a return type. And what is the next one? This is method name. Method name, the name of the method. And what are these? These are parameters that we are passing. Parameter list, comma separated list of the input. If there are, like, more number of parameters, then comma, we send them by using comma. Okay. Once this is done, then we'll have method body. Okay, no one will ask you, like, how do you define a method, but if somebody asks you, just remember this public static void main. So in the public static void main, okay, what is this public? This is a modifier, so we need to have a modifier. Okay, either public, default, private, something like that. We'll discuss that. And then we have static, which is a non-access modifier. Okay, we can have a non-access modifier. And then void. What is void? Return type. And then method name, and then parameters separated by comma, and then we have the actual method body. Right, you understand this one, right? This is how
Yes.
you
Yes.
define a method. So just remember that main method and you can easily answer that one. Okay, so you can define a method as, okay, so let us define a method. Let me go to the notepad. Okay, so what is the first one? We can have an modifier, access modifier, right? So it is public. That's a public. Okay, non-access modifier static we can have, but let's not take that one. Okay, and the next one is a return type. Okay, how do we what kind of method? For example, if our method is returning, if it is not returning anything, what is the method? What is the return type there?
Void.
Void. If it is returning an integer, then we can use int. Okay, and then the method name. Let's say I'm taking like the method name is some example. Okay, and I'm not taking like any parameters. So this is how I can define a method. For example, if this is taking like two parameters, two integer type parameters, so int a, int b. This is how I can define. Okay, comma separated list I have to pass. Okay, so in this case, this is returning an integer and it is taking two integer type arguments. Okay, that's all. You can create a method as public int add. Add is the method name here. Here public is the modifier, int is the return type, add is the method name, int a and int b are the parameters. Okay, so in the above method, we are returning an integer. If we return nothing from the method, then we can define it as public void. Okay, instead of int, we will define it as void. Okay, in the above method, we don't want to return anything, so return type is void. Okay, returning a string. Strings we will see this one in future, but like if we want to return a string, this is how we have to do it. Like capital S, it is capital S. Okay, string, and then we are passing two string parameters to this one. Okay, returning an array of integers. Arrays also we'll see this one. Okay, so we'll use the data type and then square brackets. That means it returns an array of integers. Okay, similarly, it takes an array of integers. Okay, returning an array of strings. Okay, string and then the symbol and then string square brackets and the name of the array. Okay, we are passing an array here and we are returning an array. Okay, we'll see about like what is arrays and strings in the future chapters, but for now just remember like the method structure here, how we want to pass an array of integers or how to return an array of integers like that. Okay, passing and returning an object. Don't worry about this object, we'll see it later. Okay, so this is how you define a method. Okay, now let us say I have defined my method like this. Okay, which returns an integer and which takes two integer arguments. How do I call this one? If I want to call this method, I have to use this method name add, and then I have to pass these arguments. What are the arguments that we have? These are integer type arguments. So I'm passing this 2, 3. Okay, this is how we call a method. Okay, but again, it returns, this is returning an integer. So I have created another data type variable int a, and I'm capturing the return value into this variable. Okay, do you guys understand until this point methods? What is it?
Yes.
Okay, so why do we use methods basically?
To reuse the code.
To reuse the code. Okay, so how do we define a method in our code?
First we have to put modifier. After that we have to put the return type. After that
Yeah.
method name inside parameters and body.
And body. Okay, that's all. That's it. Right. Okay. So what are the different return types we have? What are the different values that we can pass to a method we have seen so far? Okay. So yeah, it's 7:58. Okay. Okay. So I'll show you some examples on this one today. Okay. Sorry, not tomorrow. Like how to create methods and like how to use them. Okay. And another important concept in this one is method overloading. Okay, that's an important concept because that's the one I always touch in any interview. Okay, method overloading and static polymorphism that will be produced by the method overloading. Okay, that's I will explain you those concepts tomorrow. Okay, and I will cover method overloading, methods and method overloading. Okay. Okay, method. Okay, so tomorrow I will show you like conditions, switch case, for loops, constructors, and static variables, methods, and classes also. I will cover it. I'll cover it. Yeah, I'll try to cover like until access modifiers tomorrow. Okay. Okay, so yeah, let me see. Okay, participants. Okay. Yeah. Any questions, guys? Like on for the topics that we have discussed so far. Anyone? Okay. Are you guys like able to follow this one, or like you have any confusion or anything? Nilima, let me go like one by one. Okay, Ankur.
Yeah,
Ankur.
no questions because I was having a study question regarding the memory,
Okay.
how heap memory, stack memory, but you cleared it very well today.
Okay.
So I'll yeah, it is clear for my.
Okay, Nilima, like are you able to follow these sessions?
Yeah, today's class is much better. Like I
Okay.
followed much compared to the first one.
Okay. Just practice like everything. Okay, once you practice this, because like if you are completely new, it's only the practice that makes you perfect. Okay, so
Okay.
the daily sessions that we are covering, just practice them. Okay, Gautam.
Yes, Subbu, I'm clear.
Okay, and Narsimha.
Yes, Subbu, I'm clear.
Okay, and Ramesh.
Yeah, Subbu, today sessions was clear. Yesterday's too was most of them clear, like except the data
Okay.
types. So I'll just go through those lessons.
Yeah, go through them and practice them. Once you practice them,
Yeah.
then it will be clear. And or like you may get like some additional questions also. If you get like any additional questions, let me know. I'll clear them. Okay. Okay. And who's this one? Selenium. Who joined this one? Okay. Suman, is it clear for you?
Yes, it's all okay so far. All good. I was a bit confused with the, class variables and instance variables, but you have cleared it. Yeah, today's class is also good.
Yeah, just
Super.
practice that one. Practice, okay? About the types of variables that we create, like the static variables and the instance variables. Practice them and try to access them in different ways, different methods or different classes by creating objects, by using the class names and all those things. Once you
Sure.
practice this, then that will be clear for you. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. And yeah. And who's the other one? Anu, right?
Yeah.
Hi,
Okay.
Subramanian. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Good. Okay. So is this clear, Anu, for you, or you have any
Yes.
questions?
Yes, Subramanian. I'm following it fine. As many of people said, variables is only like I felt a bit difficult. Maybe we need to practice a bit more
Yeah,
on
just
variables.
practice that one, that variable types, static variables, instance
Yeah, the 4
variables,
types
just
of
practice.
variables.
It's only like, the confusion will be like, how to access these static variables, because there are like, 4 places where you can access these static variables. That's where the small confusion will be there. But once you practice this one, then that will be clear. Okay.
Sure. Yep.
Okay,
Thank
fine.
you.
And who is this one? Selenium. Is this Amar? Okay, fine. That's fine. Okay, fine, guys. Then we'll meet tomorrow at the same time, 6 a.m. Okay, please try to join the class like in sharp at 6. Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.